is KIC Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to the Southbank podcast. I'm joined by the ever-present, whilst in the wars, Cameron Gorman. Cameron, been fighting illness lately, haven't you? But aside from that, how have you been?
I've not been too bad. Obviously, defeat at the weekend, second consecutive loss in a row after what was a wonderful 5 games. We'll always have that 5 games. Yeah, I've been in the gutters myself with illness, but always here to talk about Wolves, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy getting right into it after an exciting end to the transfer window for Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the main talking point. We'll talk about the game in length after the transfers, I believe. I think that's a good way to start. That's probably the most relevant thing coming out of Wolves. And whilst you say an exciting end to the transfer window, I just want to go on a quick little tangent before we probably get into it. Transfer deadline day is dead. Like, honestly, this whole thing as a concept is dead. I was watching Sky Sports yesterday, ended at 7 o'clock, which is ridiculous anyway. And it just becomes a day of finalising things we've heard for weeks now, rather than the excitement of like a Mesut Ozil or a Gareth Bale or a Wolves alternative, Benik joining on in the final hours of deadline day. But Wolves did get 2 signings complete. We'll talk about them first. Proven Championship striker Adam Armstrong, and a loan from Marseille, former Man United player Angel Gomez. Cameron, I mean, 7 million spent for now, really, between the 2 players. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's pretty good on the basis of it's some homegrown talent in. Firstly, I think Wolves' squad has been crying out for homegrown players for some time now, whether this is in relation to Premier League registration or the incoming Championship registration, which we'll be dealing with next season. I'm 99% sure. And I think both of these deals are somewhat of a coup for Wolves, really. Adam Armstrong, while in the last year of his contract, we've got a quite cheap deal for, like you say, a proven Championship striker. While I only see this as a short-term solution, really, he's not exactly made the jump to the Prem whenever he's played in this league. I'm not really expecting him to come out, score 10 goals and keep us up. This is very much a signing that's made with next season in mind, really. And when you see his numbers in the Championship, you completely understand why Fosun saw this one as a priority. And he's very excited to work under Rob Edwards, and he's very excited to play for the club also, from what he said in his interviews. And what I'm really happy about with both of these signings is the fact that they are both players who want to play, who want to make a difference to this squad and give positive energy to the team. I think that's really probably the hardest thing Wolves may have had on their plate when it came to January incomings, as you don't want anyone who's going to put a further downer on the atmosphere and further scupper your chances of staying up. Angel Gomez, obviously a very talented player from Marseille. He's played for England as well at the international level not too long ago. It was a 1 million loan fee, which is ridiculously cheap. And a rumoured 6 million buy option. Whether that's true, I'm not sure. And reported by Liam Keane that is not dependent on us staying up. So even in the Championship, we could have Angel Gomez potentially if this deal goes to plan. Now, the only 2 downsides to this deal, he hasn't actually played a game of senior football since November due to injury, which is a big concern, as we've got enough injury issues as it is. But you'd be willing to take the punt, let him play himself into match fitness for the remaining 6 months of the season, and then have a full season in the Championship, hopefully. Or if he proves to be very good while in the Premier League in this short period of time, Wolves very well may flip him for a quick profit in the summer window, similar to a Benik situation after his previous spell at the club.
Yeah, I definitely think as of right now, you probably struggle to see Angel Gomez playing Championship football. It's quite a weird situation where, of course, as Wolves fans, we want him to do well, but it's a situation where if he sets the world alight, he probably does get moved on for a marginal profit in the summer. But if he just does decent enough. He enjoys his time at Wolverhampton. Perhaps there is a chance he plays in the Championship next year. As you say, the initial reports were starting to say that they'll have a €7 million buy option if Wolves stay in the Premier League. But as you say, Liam Keane, after the deal was done, coming out and saying that's not dependent on Wolves staying up. So, I mean, the only people that will know if Angel Gomez has got intention of being here for longer is Angel Gomez and Wolverhampton Wanderers. And we'll soon be informed of that in August. I think, if I'm right in saying, though, Angel Gomez is a player who's been plagued by injuries a lot throughout his career.
Yeah.
Has had a fair few. I remember a really nasty one at Lille towards the opening day of last season, but that was due to a bad tackle on him rather than his own frailties. But if you can keep him fit, a talented footballer, I remember being rated very highly by Manchester United fans and someone they were very excited to see come through the ranks, and a few upset to see the back side of Angel Gomez when he left for France. But I think, of course, did play under Lee Carsley in the England squad. That'll be in the back of his mind. Probably not for the immediate future, as it's such a difficult kind of position to break into when you think of the players England have got in that position. But, of course, things can quickly change in regards to international football. So he'll have that in mind. As for Adam Armstrong, of course, had the misfortune of playing for West Bromwich Albion last year, I think I'll say. Didn't set the world alight there as such, but with better players around him at Southampton, has always done well in the Championship. I think you put it perfectly. But these are the kind of players that Wolves should have been looking at in this window if you're looking very likely to go down. I mean, they came out and said in a Rob Edwards interview just before the transfer window that their plan is to be in the Premier League in the 26-27 season, no, the 27-28 season, or whatever the one after next season is, regardless of whatever league we're in next season. So I think Adam Armstrong's a player that is ideal to get you over the line to do that if that's what you're looking to achieve. But of course, I think the biggest news of the deadline day wasn't an incoming, it was an outgoing, as Wolves managed to, in my opinion, fleece Crystal Palace. A £48 million for Jorgen Strand Larsen, who scored one Premier League goal this season. And Cameron, surely this is a fantastic bit of negotiation from Wolves. And how often do we say that?
Yeah, not very often, do we? I honestly don't understand why Palace went through with this deal, especially with Mateta not making the move to AC Milan in the end. But that is not our concern. We only care about Wolves here. And for us, this is a fantastic deal. Now, I've seen some Palace fans be quite happy due to his performance last season, but most of them are quite confused as well, seemingly, at the amount of money they've forked out to spend on Jorgen Strand Larsen. Now, I have to agree with you first and foremost, Jacob. I think we've absolutely pulled their pants down with this deal, and I just don't understand how we've managed to get so much money for him when he was bound to leave in the summer, and he's just not set the world alight this season either. One goal in like 17 Premier League appearances or something this year, if not more. And yeah, he's a player who really downed his tools since the summer transfer window after his move to Newcastle broke down. So I'm sort of glad to see the back of him. While I'm grateful for everything he did for us last season, he's not exactly been putting in the most effort, I feel, this year. And in a relegation battle, he's not someone you really want if he's not prepared to put in the effort, as his eyes are already on the next step.
Yeah, I think he's kind of very much dampened his relationship with Wolves fans from my perspective. I think
agree.
a player that it's unfortunate because he had the full backing of the ground last year and kind of threw it back in our faces. I think the way he's conducted himself this season has been nothing short of disgraceful, honestly. I know he did that move in the summer, but
when did you last hear his chant other than the Shrewsbury game?
Yeah, precisely that. I mean, it's more so, I think I'm hearing get jeered off more than I've heard his chant this season. And that's exactly what you need to know. But we'll speak about jeering off because I think it's becoming a bit too common of a thing, particularly with one player on Saturday who I don't think deserved it. But that's when we get to the game. Just a quick note on Crystal Palace. I think not only have we fleeced them, I think Everton have as well. I mean, a combined 68 million
broken
for Dwight
down
McNeil.
that deal.
And has it?
Yeah,
So
it didn't go through, unfortunately. But I still agree with the point you were going to make. Obviously, the fact that they were about to pay 20 million for Dwight McNeil and had already paid 100 million combined for Strand Larson and Brennan Johnson is shocking. I don't understand how Palace are making these deals. I think if you're a Palace fan, it's understandable that they're so angry,
yeah,
given that their front three has gone from Elise, Eze, and Mateta to potentially McNeil, Strand Larson, and Brennan Johnson. It's just not
yeah.
exactly inspiring,
I
is it?
mean, if I was a Crystal Palace fan, what would frustrate me the most is losing a captain centre back in Mark Gay and seemingly not buying a replacement. They've put
Yeah,
Cambo in there next to LaCoy, who hasn't seemed, I know it's early days, an inch on Mark Gay so far.
yeah,
And I think it's going to be a real struggle for them. But we're not a Crystal Palace podcast. We are back to Wolves. And the outgoings might not be done yet. Emmanuel Agbadou and Besiktas still flirting with a move. The Turkish window is still open. And I think there was reports about a week ago that Agbadou was kicking up a bit of a stink. And honestly, he's either awful at football or Saturday was a sabotage because he was absolutely abysmal on Saturday.
yeah. He was
But
terrible,
yeah,
terrible.
I thought was absolutely awful. Dribbled the ball out of play at least twice from my recall and let the
Yeah,
player go multiple times from him. But we will get on to that game now. Can Bournemouth on Saturday, frustration, I think is the word. Despite losing 2-0, I don't even feel like a point escaped. I felt like all three escaped us with the chances we had.
yeah. I completely agree. I think Wolves were probably a better team on the day, ironically. But once again, we just lack that. We lacked that edge to get ourselves over the line. And then after we conceded, it kind of opened up our soft underbelly, so to
Mm.
speak, and we rolled over for Bournemouth and started to concede a lot of the pressure. Now we improved a bit in the second half again, but we were just second best to everything really in the finishing department, and we were just failing to create significant chances despite
Yeah,
having all of the ball, and Bournemouth being quite weak defensively, may I add. They weren't exactly pulling out all the stops to keep that clean sheet. We never made them work hard enough for it, and two of their only shots on target in the whole game they scored.
yeah. And
And
that's the
typical,
difference.
yeah,
But for me, Cameron, that first goal comes massively against the other player. Of course, Mateus Mane had already
completely
put the
agree.
ball in the Bournemouth net. It was ruled out for offside, which, looking back, is a clear offside. Rodrigo is offside. But the build-up play for that goal, I mean, Hwang Chan does brilliantly on the half turn, plays through Rodrigo Gomez, and Rodrigo puts it across to Mane, which I will add, Rodrigo was exactly what we've missed with Jackson Chachua playing there. Someone direct who's getting balls into that box, and we scored off one. And I think we had the lion's share of the possession, the lion's share of the chances before the goal. But Cameron, it was a fantastic strike from Creepy Junior. You can't really take much away from it. Maybe Sarr should do a bit better, but it's a fantastic strike.
Yeah, there's not much you can do about goals like that when they fly in, rattling off the underside of the crossbar. Nothing Jose Sarr can do either about it, to be honest. And Junior Krupi, what a goal catalogue he's already
Yeah,
got. Up to now, 8 goals in the Premier League, I think, this season. In his first season as a teenager, what a talent, may I add, firstly. But yeah, nothing you can really do about that. He had plenty of players on there who just almost got the block, but it was a thunderous strike that moved far too quickly for anyone to get in the way of it. And with his first touch, he's absolutely smashed it in for a brilliant first goal for Bournemouth, it has to be said. But it was quite disappointing as Wolves, we had really been on top. We had the edge. And it felt like a bit of a cruel punishment for the effort we
yeah,
put into the game up to that point. And it was the typical case of when that goal went in, our heads suddenly dropped. And yeah, you kind of knew where the afternoon was going to go
yeah.
after that.
Yeah, after Junior Creepy had spent about 7 minutes celebrating his goal, the goal was finally given, and the goal wasn't even checked by VAR. It was just a long celebration, wasn't it? But
Yep.
we finally continued the game, and Wolves needed half time after this. Kind of started to fall apart towards the end of the second half. But Rob Edwards, to his fairness, did regroup Wolves. Tolu could have had two or three in that second half. I mean, the one that really strikes out to me is Hugo Bueno managing to find Tolu in a very busy box. And
Yeah.
Tolu, he does well to get to it, but his shot just isn't far enough into
Straight
the
at
corners.
Petrovic.
and
Yeah.
it's too easy of a save. Of course, we hit the post. I believe Mosquera off the corner gets the header. Who once again hit the woodwork against City on a corner, hit the woodwork against Bournemouth on a corner, and
So
these
unlucky.
chances just kept falling for Wolves. They just weren't going in, were they? It was
Yeah.
so frustrating.
There was one for Jorgen Strand Larsen as well, who
Yeah,
could have made a goodbye goal on his what was his now last game for the club. But yeah, he aimed harmlessly wide. Um, I think despite us trying to create all the chances, the better chances came for Bournemouth on the break. To be honest,
mm,
after the introduction of Ryan as well, who looked particularly impressive on
yeah,
his debut, the young Brazilian. And obviously Alex Scott's goal for the second Bournemouth goal, that came on the counter again
yeah,
from Wolves pushing for an equaliser very late on. And you just knew how it was going to go. It was an emphatic finish from Scott, I have to say. And Ryan put it on a plate for him with a fantastic cross. But yeah, far too easy. I wasn't too annoyed about the second goal, particularly because we were pushing for an equaliser.
yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those. You just knew that the rub of the green was never going to help us out on the day, and Wolves just continue to falter.
Yeah, and I mean, it was probably very limited chance anyway, but it really feels like any Wolves fan that had a slight glimmer of hope of survival, it kind of got eradicated on Saturday. We're now so unbelievably far behind. Nottingham Forest is 17th, but it's going to be the greatest escape in Premier League history if we were to do it. But of
But we
course
won't.
it's no, of course we won't. Um, but it's you can only look ahead to the remaining Premier League games that we have. It's time to enjoy hosting the likes of Chelsea, who we play this next upcoming game. And Chelsea, for me, Cam, I mean, they play tonight against Arsenal, a very tough Carabao Cup semi-final that they go in with a goal disadvantage at the Emirates. So, but for me, Cameron, I've really liked what Liam Rossini's been doing at Chelsea. I think the improvement from the last, let's say, 5 performances from Maresca and the first 5, even the one they lost against Arsenal, under Liam Rossini has been night and day. And I don't think it's a good time to play Chelsea at all.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think they've really picked up. While some might say new manager bounce, and some might act like Liam Rosini is not a good manager due to the influx of memes that are either in betweeners related or Lego related. But no, I think he's a very good coach, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I
And I
agree.
think he's already proven himself within the Chelsea ecosystem with his time at Strasbourg, who operate under a similar model to almost groom people for that role. And with Gary O'Neill being his replacement, it makes you wonder if we could see a Gary O'Neill Chelsea boss one day. But yeah, onto Rosinia and his Chelsea side. They've looked much improved. They look far more confident. And I think he's done really well to balance the minutes of such a big squad.
Mm.
Since he's come in, he's given lots of players chances who weren't necessarily getting any minutes before. And you mentioned their game against Arsenal today, and because of that, I think it'll probably be quite a heavily rotated Chelsea team that we face on Saturday. Now, I know a lot of people have the likes of João Pedro, Chalobah, and so on and so forth in their FPL. Some giving João Pedro the captain's armband. I'm not sure if he'll
Who
start.
would
I
do
think
that?
me, I would.
Same.
And I think it will be very telling to see the team will play against Saturday based off their fixture against Arsenal tonight. You can imagine if anyone's benched or subbed off early, you'd imagine that's done so with Saturday in mind, really.
Mm. Yeah,
But
I think he's finally managed to, in the early stages, seem like a manager finally been able to work under this crazy Bowley regime of having a big squad. He seems very popular amongst that squad already. Of
yeah,
course, whilst it's like you say been memed, there was a moment after the Napoli game where he crashes João Pedro's interview, and that kind of rapport seems to be working very well with the players. He seems to, as a young coach, have a very relatable side to him, and they're fighting for him. I mean, look on Saturday's game where they've shown frailties against West Ham. It will be said, and Wolves can exploit them. The fight in the second half for them was unbelievable to to get back and win 3-2 in against whilst West Ham are poor, we know what Nuno's about. A tough team to break down if they're in the leading position. I mean, how many times did Wolves lose from a leading position under Nuno? Rule out that game at Wembley, not many. But I think it'll be an extremely tough game. You mentioned
I
some. You
wouldn't have
got
wanted to be João Pedro in that game, though, with Adama Traore charging
yeah,
towards him.
or Mark Cucurella, who got launched from Stamford Bridge to the Emirates Stadium in time for tonight's match. I think, but I think they have so much quality. If they click Chelsea, they're capable of getting a result against anyone in Europe. I think.
Yeah.
They've obviously got such a squad. Of course, hasn't been hitting the heights that we expect from him. But Cole Palmer is easily one of the most talented footballers in the league when he's on it. And
He's
tore us
still
apart.
coming back from injury, so
Yeah, tore us apart last season when we played at Molineux. And of course, you mentioned rotation, Cam. They rotated against us in the cup and they were 3-0 up at half time. So where where is there any chance of Wolves getting anything in this game, Cameron? Is there a chance?
probably not. To put it quite bluntly, I could sit here and dream and say I think we're going to win 3-0 and start our comeback and we'll pull off the greatest escape in Premier League history. But no, quite frankly, I think Chelsea will be the better team on the day. I think we'll be second best to almost everything and we'll probably lose.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. I don't know whether
Sorry
it's
to be so negative.
has it been released whether Angel Gomez will be fit enough to be in the squad or not. I don't believe there's
I
been
think
any
it's too
news.
soon to say.
Yeah, I think Adam Armstrong will probably be in the squad. He's been playing for Southampton, so I believe we'll probably see him on the bench most likely. I don't think he'll come straight to start 11.
Do you
But
think Adam Armstrong's best position for Wolves will end up being out wide, similar to how Hwang operates, or do you think he'll be played through the middle?
I think he'll be played through the middle, possibly a two up front with Armstrong and Tolu. I think it'll be Tolu there to hold it up, Armstrong there to be the runner off him and the poacher kind of. A bit like what Hwang's meant to do. I mean, you're not going to get a runner from Adam Armstrong. You're going to have to hold the ball and play into his feet and hope he scores. I mean, his days of running in behind the lines at Blackburn, I think, are probably behind him. He's changed his game a lot. When I've seemed to see him at Southampton, he's a lot more of a poacher
Still
now.
quite quick though.
Well, he's still relatively quick, but when you put him against Premier League centre backs, he's shown before that he doesn't have that inch of pace on them. So he has to adapt to become more of a poacher, and I feel like he has done that. And that's his goal tally has positively been affected by it, becoming a bit more of a fox in the box. He has the runners off him at Southampton rather than being the main runner now. But he could move out to the wing, yeah. I think that versatility is always good, especially more so in a championship season where you play 46 games and each team is so different in the way they set up. I mean, you look at teams at the top of the championship like Coventry and look at the teams at the bottom of the championship like Oxford, and they set up completely different. You'll be playing against completely different systems week in, week out. I mean, I think the Premier League's at a stage where a lot of it's rinse and repeat between managers now and teams, and you almost know what you're getting with a Premier League side, whereas a Championship side is very unorthodox. So we need to be unorthodox and have players that can move out of position, like Adam Armstrong is my long-winded answer to that. I don't think there'll be many changes on Saturday, though. I think whilst we lost to Bournemouth, I don't think the performance merited too many players being dropped. And I don't think there's many players to drop. I mean, Andre wasn't great, but you don't really drop him for a game like Chelsea. Who would you bring in? Bellegarde? I don't think that would really work in the midfield with João Gomez from the start. He's just come
Too
back from injury
soon
himself.
after his injury.
Yeah, perhaps if Angel Gomez is miraculously fit, you can move perhaps Mane up front with Tolu, but I wouldn't disrupt Mane's flow either. So I don't think there's many changes to be made. Perhaps Agbadou drops out if Cressy's back fit. I mean, that would be the obvious one. Or
That's what I'd hope for.
I wouldn't mind seeing Doherty come in for Agbadou and play a back three of Santi, Mosquera, and Doherty if Cressy's not fit. Just anyone but Agbadou, I suppose, at this point. But I don't think there's been many
Will
changes.
Agbadou even be here by Saturday?
Hopefully not. But I come to you, Cam. What would you do Saturday for the lineup?
Yeah, I'd probably keep it relatively the same. I wouldn't be too shocked to see Armstrong come into that starting 11 right off the bat. I would kind of expect that from Rob. He seems very happy to have got his man in that aspect. I could see him coming in for someone like Hwang potentially. But again, doubtful. I feel like the most obvious change is just Cressy and Vagbadu, provided he's back and fit in the squad. I think we really missed him Saturday, as well as his leadership. I think other than that, there's not much that needs to change. I'll be interested to see whether he goes with Rodrigo Gomez or Jackson to Chachua on that right-hand side.
I think it writes itself, honestly. I think there's night and day between them.
Oh, I completely agree, but also I think Jackson is slightly better defensively, and against players with the likes of Chelsea's calibre, Edwards may choose to go for the slightly defensively better Jackson, but I think we are a far more complete team when Rodrigo Gomez plays.
Certainly. Can I get a score prediction off you, Cameron?
I'm going to say 3-1 Chelsea.
Yeah, I think it's sensible. I think it's very sensible. Part of me feels like we could steal a draw at Molineux, but my head probably tells me 2-1 Chelsea, but I'm going to back us for a draw, actually. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to be the optimist to Cam's pessimist, whilst I believe his pessimism will probably come to show and be a sensible option. I'm going to go 4-1 all draw. Let's say Adam Armstrong scores his debut.
I would like that.
That's where we'll go with that. But I think that's everything we have to say. Keep an eye on the Agbadu saga. The transfer window has slammed shut, as eventful as January usually is, which is not very. And I think that's everything from us, isn't it, Cameron?
Yep, I've got nothing left to add.
So we have been the Southbank podcast. Thank you, Cameron, for fighting through this illness and joining me once again. And thank you
for having me, as always.
No problem. Thank you all.
And thank you to all of those listening.
And we will see you again after Wolves most likely lose to Chelsea. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is KIC Radio.